This is Believe in Buckeyes. I'm Brian Brown with All-American quarterback Chindy Chekwa. This show is brought to you by Bet Online. Jim, tell them about Bet Online.
Yeah, so BetOnline is the number one source for everything betting. They have all the stats, all the live odds, all the games that are being played. There is a $300,000 NFL survivor pool for this upcoming season that you can join. Just use the promo code BLEAV and get in on the action. BetOnline is where the game starts.
And if you have any issues with gambling, always feel free to reach out to 1-800-GAMBLER. They're 24/7 to help you out with anything you may need in that category. But, Jim, we got big news, man. Coach Day Diddy, we didn't know. Last year, went to the season. But this year, today, he actually made a commitment and said that Will Howard will be the starting quarterback for the 2024/25 Ohio State Buckeyes. How you feeling?
I feel good. We just did a pod earlier this week. We went to practice, and after practice, what we say? We said Will Howard is the starting quarterback. You remember I said?
I was still trying to make it a little gray area on it, but
keep it suspenseful. But I was like, look, if he's not going to name a starter, I am, because it was very clear who the starting quarterback is. So, it's evident because he came out and said, look, Will Howard is the starting quarterback. He saw what we saw. He looks like he's taking command of the offense. He seems like the leader on the offense. He's making the right decisions. He's taking care of the football. All the things that would lead a coach to trust the quarterback. But at the same time, like you mentioned, Devin Brown didn't. It seemed like he was playing good as well, pushing the ball down the field, doing what he does. But there's a reason why they brought Will Howard here, and it's because they were looking for somebody to lead a team that's very experienced. They're looking for a quarterback who is also very experienced to be able to be that leader. So we can expect Will Howard to carry them into the season, and we get the chance to talk about whether or not he's doing what he's supposed to do. And I think he will. I think he has the experience. There will be no surprises for him this year. He's seen it all. So I'm excited to take that next step and really focus on, different than last year where everything was up in the air. Now we know who's going to be that leader going in, and the team could prepare for those games, understanding who that's going to be.
Yeah, I totally agree. Obviously, I feel that, they made the decision, and I feel like they made the right decision. I was like you said, to the team. They brought him in for a reason. This is the 5th year. Nothing new is going to happen out there. Obviously, he's playing for Ohio State now, and there'll be a lot more eyes on him when he goes out there to perform. But, he played a lot of college football. He done played to Texas. He done played to Oklahoma. He done played to Oklahoma State. And I was thinking about it, like he probably already played against a Jim Knowles defense in his time at Kansas State, right?
Yeah.
So it's like he's going to go out there and kind of be a veteran, right? He's a veteran in college football, and we expect him to go out there, execute well, and move that offense up and down the field. And to be frank, do what the offense is intended to do. So control the ball and put points on the board.
So I asked this question to Twitter and got a variable of different responses. But my question to you is, when the season completes, Will Howard would have been a top what quarterback in college football this season?
I say he'll be top tier. I think Ohio State. And when I say top tier, there's a very good chance that he goes to New York City. Like he goes to the big dance and kind of be a finalist up there for the Heisman. I say that this is Ohio State, right? I feel, obviously, like every year, that we could win all our games this year. We could go undefeated. And obviously we know how Heisman voting works. If you're the quarterback on that top tier team, you just kind of keep getting a notch. We have top-tier wide receivers. We have top-tier running backs. And as we know, Will Howard could run the ball as well. So I think his stat line would be fantastic. Ohio State has a great record. And I'm not going to say he's going to win the Heisman. Maybe he do, maybe he don't. But I know if we go undefeated and he leading the Buckeyes the way I know he can, there's a pretty good chance that he's bringing home the hardware, that Heisman Trophy come here in December.
Yeah, it feels a lot like a Bo Nix to Oregon type situation where – a guy who's played a lot of football. I think Bo Nix might have been in his 6th season or his 10th season. I don't know. He seemed like he's been in college football for a long time.
A long time. That's for sure. Yeah.
But a new, you get kind of a fresh start still, but you're a veteran who's seen it all. Experienced guy who understands how to work in offense, understands how to command a huddle. And you're able to get, guys. Interesting. Bo Nix went to Oregon. Chip Kelly, a former Oregon coach, now offensive coordinator at Ohio State. But I think it's going to be a similar situation where you get those wins, you stack a bunch of wins on a top team and a team that's ranked high, will likely be ranked high throughout the entire season. I agree. I think he has an opportunity to be a finalist for the Heisman Trophy. I know when you ask fans, there's some people who think he's great, and there's some who think he's no better than what we had last year. But I think what people fail to understand is how we're going to use Will Howard. They're definitely going to use him in quarterback runs. And if you watch him at K-State, you know that he can get downhill and run the ball, right? I mean, he's not Michael Vick, but if you look at a guy like Josh Allen, who has a lot of quarterback runs designed for him, there's an opportunity to do a lot of that. And then if you just watch his ability to identify, take what the defense gives, he's a solid player in that regard. And similar to Bo Nix, not a lot of, you don't see a lot of down the field throws consistently game through different games. But if you watch what Bo Nix did at Oregon, you didn't see a lot of that either. You saw a guy who was able to take what the defense gave him, was able to make the right decisions, make the right reads, run the ball, and that led to a really high-powered offense, which I expect Ohio State to have, a similar offense.
That's right. And Coach Chip Kelly called it, right? He stated from the jump, or a handful he had a pressure, I think, about a week or two ago. And he's kind of stating that, when Will Howard came to camp, compared to spring ball, he was down about 10 to 15 pounds. And, how fast he could get up to it. I think he said he's the fastest quarterback, got to 22 miles per hour out there on the field, running around and things of that nature. And I think and the players, right? You've been hearing from the players as well. Denzel Burke stated, how much better, he had been, seeing improvement in the controlment of the offense. And one more thing that Denzel Burke stated is that he didn't come back to play this extra year of college football for nothing, right? You came to kind of go out there and execute and win some games. And I feel like right now, obviously, Will Howard gives them the best ability to do that. But I would say this. I kind of was listening to some sports radio today, and as I do from time to time, I was trying to catch Coach Day's pressure live. And they brought something up, and I was like, man, this make a lot of sense. They stated that, this year, they're not going to let what happened to them in the bowl game come up, where it seems that, Kyle McCord leaves, and now, we're really struggling to get a quarterback ready to play, right? We spend our time on Devin Brown. He gets injured. Lincoln gets in the game, and obviously Lincoln looked as if he did, wasn't have all the reps needed. Then we're going to play a lot of guys. 2 quarterbacks play Devin Brown. 3 quarterbacks you play Julian Sayin or Lincoln or whoever you feel hosts that third spot to make sure that we have the experience. Because once again, we're a talented team, and we obviously you go as far as you're going to go, but we can't let that one position, it being in this one, the quarterback position, something happens to Will, because it's football, guys get hurt, kind of dictate the whole season. What's your thoughts on that? Do you think that we're gonna actually go out there and actually, get some real live game reps to Devin Brown or who that third quarterback may be, to kind of make sure that they're developed and in tune with this offense?
Yeah, I think they should. I mean, if you take it back to last year was not a good year in terms of, the quarterback situation. One, because both quarterbacks hadn't had a lot of real game experience. So when it came time, in the early games where we have a lead, the Ohio State has command of the game, but the offense was still kind of clunky, and they weren't operating the way Ryan Day would have liked to see him operate. He couldn't take McCord out because he needed to work through that and continue to gain that experience. Will Howard does not, he's seen a lot of game experience, right? So you would expect that we have a game plan. He can execute the game plan. We get ahead. The offense is rolling. You can come in with a Devin Brown, get him some reps. You could potentially come in with Lincoln or whoever else and get them some reps. And you're now better built for a long season, regardless of what's thrown at you throughout the season. I think we're much better equipped with that. You also don't have Ryan Day being the offensive coordinator and being the head coach. So now you have someone else who can manage that as well, right? Like it's not the guy who who is running the team, who also has to make all these quarterback decisions during the game. You have a guy who's very experienced in Chip Kelly, who also, we talked to, one of our guys from UCLA talked about Chip Kelly playing multiple quarterbacks over there at UCLA. So they're going to have a plan for making sure this team is ready to go the long season throughout the playoffs. And because of the experience that they have at the top, not just at the quarterback position, they're going to be well equipped to do it. So I look forward to seeing some of Devin Brown early on against Akron and some of these other teams to kind of see what his development is like. I think one of the things that's interesting, though, in the press conference, when they were talking to Ryan Day, and he was just explaining how, I'm naming a starter, but a lot can still happen between now and the first game. And he was just explaining how last year, at this point in his mind, Devin Brown was going to be the starter at this point last year, even though he didn't name a starter last year at this time. But what do you think about him actually mentioning, saying that? Because you remember we talked about this. I was one of the people that thought Devin Brown would likely get the starting position for certain things, but I had no real, I didn't really see him enough to really have a real take. But what do you think about that comment from Day?
Yeah, just real quick. I remember your thought at the time was that he just have a much higher ceiling, if I recall, right? He had a much higher ceiling. He was a young player compared to McCord, who's been there for essentially 3-4 seasons. And obviously, you still don't feel comfortable here enough to show that he's take over. So, you had this competition going on. But as a player, man, I don't know, man. That's kind of a rough one, man. Like, I don't know if I'm Devin, and I'm trying to put my feet. My size, I wear a size 15 shoe and Devin Brown cleats here. If I'm trying to wrap my mind around that, so obviously he's a player. He might not even heard it, right? But let's say he did tune in and he heard Coach Day say that. Man, I got to kind of put you in the dumps a little bit, right? I mean, you essentially saying that basically last year at this point in camp, essentially I think it was, let's call it 10, 12 days. So basically 10, 12 days before the first game, I was leading. And obviously, Kyle McCord did something, right? I think he said Kyle McCord kind of maybe, showed his leadership better type of deal, whatever the source there.
Yeah.
And I lost it, man, right? So I was right there, 10 to 12 days from being the starter, opened the game, and I lost it. And then obviously, the season goes how it goes from there, right? I play some, I play a little bit, score some touchdowns, end up getting injured, hurt an ankle, name starter for the bowl game, get injured again. In that game, not able to complete it, and then I come back next season, right? Don't jump in the transfer portal. I'm Devin burning the boats, Brown.
Yep.
Right. I'm staying true to that. And you bring somebody in, obviously a guy that has a lot of experience, but I've been here, under Coach Day's tutelage for the longest amount of time, and I don't get the job done again, man. I mean, this is sport, man. This is high-end sport, man. These guys are competitive. So to hear something like that, man, for Devin Brown, at first you was that close and didn't get it, and now you're in another competition and you don't get it.
Yeah.
Man, that's kind of got to be a little bit tough to hear if I'm Devin Brown, man. I don't know. I mean, if I'm Coach Dad, I don't even bring that up, man. But I don't know, man. But that sounds a little bit rough to me.
So to me, Ryan Day is a relatively transparent coach when it comes to these interviews. Like, if you really want to hear what he's saying, you really just got to listen to him. Like, Coach Tressel wasn't as transparent. He'd give you, he'd answer questions, he'd be respectful, but he wasn't going to give you any information. They kind of just openly kind of just says. And I think what he's really saying is, and he probably said it, I haven't listened to the whole press conference, is that, Devin Brown, he shows flashes of what he can be, which those flashes was kind of the reason why I'm like, he probably should be the starter last year, because he gives you kind of an indication of what his ceiling can be. But the challenge with that is the inconsistency in being able to take care of the football, being able to always find the right guy, being able to always make the right decisions. Those are the things that will lose you the game, right? So you almost got a lower floor than a lot of these guys. And, Will Howard is coming in. And I always said it, like, it's hard to compete with a guy who's played for 4 years or started for 3 years or whatever, because you're not competing with him what he's doing at practice as much as you're competing with what he's done on film, on game film.
Yeah.
Because in the mind of Ryan Day, it's like you haven't done it yet. So you have to show me a little bit more for me to trust that you're going to go out there in front of the bright lights and be able to be consistent. And I think it's almost I'm pretty sure Devin Brown heard it or saw it on social media. And I think it's almost kind of a challenge to him at this point. Like, you have all the talent and all the tools, but we need to see the consistency in doing all the things that are important to win games and not lose the game. And that's where, that's where it's at. I'm still excited about his growth and, what he could develop into. But you know how it is when it's high competition. A school at Ohio State, like you got to show that growth. Otherwise, you start moving backwards, right? Like you can't continue to be the same guy because that ceiling that we saw for you starts to get lower and lower in the coach's mind, right? But it's going to be interesting how they play these guys this year, how much reps, what type of reps he actually gets to be able to get that experience. Because Will Howard, he's also a senior. So somebody has to carry this team into the future as well. So I look forward to seeing how Devin Brown continues to develop.
Yeah. One more thing, like you stated, that he said in the pressure, I think they kind of towards the end, they kind of started pressing him, and that's kind of the part I kind of caught. Is that they kind of really acting like, hey, does Julian Sands have any type of chance of becoming a starter here for this? And Coach Dave being, the open book that he could be sometimes, like kind of like, yeah. So it's like, I mean, that's interesting. You're talking about a true freshman, right? And you got all this experience around that, and obviously, you've been hearing a lot of great things about Julian Sands. But when it comes down to it, he still is a true true freshman at that quarterback position. So, I mean, like you said, it'll be interesting to see. Obviously, we want to see all these guys play that we've been bringing up, and we want to see them all play well. We want to have tough conversations, right? To continue these tough conversations about, man, Devin Brown got the pretty deep ball, so maybe we should play him a little bit. But, Will Howard is doing this in the run game, so maybe we should keep playing him. And Julian saying he just executes with his special release that, maybe it looks like it's his turn to kind of take over the team. But, it's all, I think, positive conversations when it comes to Ohio State. And it kind of just goes back to, once again, just how talented, our team is and how special we're hoping this 24-25 season could be.
Yeah, Ohio State at this point, at the quarterback, the reality is, I mean, you need a guy who can go out there and win games. But the most important thing with this team is that you don't put a guy out there who's going to go out there and lose games. All right. And that's just the reality of it. So, Will Howard is well equipped and he's going to have the confidence and the experience to make sure that he can execute the offense in the way that the coach wants that offense to be executed. But I think he has some tools, man. I think he has some tools, and his ability to run the ball, his ability to throw as well. I think, I'm very optimistic when it comes to what he can be for this team this year. And I'm excited to see it. I put a nickname out there. There was a question out there on Twitter. What should Will Howard's nickname be? So I'm gonna say it started here first. Ill Will.
Ill Will.
Ill Will. That could be a positive nickname, or it could be negative based on how he plays. Right?
Yeah, Ill Will may be insane in the membrane, right? yeah, right. But it's gonna be up to Ill Will to keep it in hip hop. Ill Will to pop out and show people, what he can do out there when it comes to these Saturdays in this Buckeye team. But hey, before we wrap up here, man, big news coming out this weekend. 5-star offensive lineman David Sanders out of the North Carolina area stated he's going to make his commitment. I believe Ohio State is down to the final third, I believe, between like Ohio State, Tennessee, maybe another school in the mix there. But, I think Coach Day said it, and now we all believe it. This team is going to go as far as our offensive line take it. Obviously, he's a future. But, hey, once he kind of make that decision, we would definitely give our opinion about Coach Fry and the offensive line for this year and the future for the next Believe in Buckeyes. We'd like to end all our show with a nice OH.
Yo.
Go Bucks, and catch you guys here soon.